You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, the latest violence outside the airport in Kabul as the U.S. enters its final day before the withdrawal deadline.
Good morning. Start in the 4 states to the arrival of Ida on the Gulf Coast. We'll break it all down from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, Missouri's vaccine lottery has winners in the Joplin area. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The security situation in Kabul remains tenuous this morning after the U.S. military intercepted a small barrage of rockets aimed at the airport. Earlier, U.S. forces struck a vehicle it says was packed with multiple suicide bombers, reportedly also killing civilians in the process. With the August 31st deadline for a full U.S. military pullout looming, the focus has shifted to bringing troops back home safely. The remains of 11 of the 13 U.S. Marines killed in last week's suicide bombing are now back in the United States, marking President Biden's first time in office witnessing a dignified transfer. Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz was among those killed in Thursday's bombing incident near the Kabul airport. Schmitz was from Wentzville, Missouri, and as Caroline Hecker reports, that same community rallied in his honor this weekend.
A sea of red, white, and blue flooded Wentzville Parkway on Saturday morning. Signs paying tribute to Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz elicited a chorus of car horns from those passing by. His heroic story encouraging and inspiring to those with dreams of joining the military.
It means a lot. He was out there serving our country, saving our lives, and earning our freedom.
The rally was organized last minute by Kyle Thayer, and he says the turnout says a lot about the St. Louis community.
To me, it shows that the patriotism's on the rise again. I mean, it sucks to say that their sacrifice has to create a patriotism, but with 9/11, the memorial of that coming around the corner, anniversary, and then now this, I mean, it's only going to keep on going up.
Wentzville Mayor Nick Ciccone says he's experienced a range of emotions over the last 24 hours and is working on a proclamation to honor Schmitz.
First, anger that it shouldn't have happened, and then sorrow. You know, it's sad. It's a sad situation.
Many in the crowd are military members themselves, along with their families. The Mueller sisters have watched their dad deploy with the Navy and say it never gets easier.
It's really hard, but we understand why he's there and the importance of him, and we're really proud of him.
You know when he's going to come back, but you don't really know, and you don't know when you're going to see him next, so it's very scary.
The rally left some in tears, and others at a simple loss for words.
This Semper Fi to my Marines.
A somber reminder that all gave some, and some gave all.
Well, one vehicle crash in Cherokee County claims the life of an Alabama man. The Kansas Highway Patrol says just after 11 Friday morning, 79-year-old Clonnie Smith of Coker, Alabama was driving east on Baghdad Road when his car left the roadway. The rear end struck a tree, causing the car to spin 180 degrees and crash into another tree. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment issues a boil advisory in Wilson County. The KDHD says the advisory is for Wilson County Rural District number 11. The advisory is not related to COVID-19. KDHE says the advisory is in effect due to conditions that place the system at risk of bacterial contamination, specifically a pump failure resulting in loss of pressure. The advisory will remain in effect until the issue can be resolved. Jomo Pridefest returns to Joplin for another fun-filled celebration of the local LGBTQ+ community. The event featured a ton of activities and attractions, including vendors, a pride march, drag shows, magic and comedy shows, a costume contest, and more. And this weekend's hot late summer weather didn't stop the hundreds of 4-staters from coming out for 2 days packed full of pride-themed activities. The TSA unveils this year's winner for Cutest Canine Security Dog. The award goes to Alana, 4-year-old golden retriever who works at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas. Alana is highly skilled and trained to detect explosives. She was one of 4 finalists in the 3-day nationwide social media contest. As part of her big win, she'll appear as the cover girl on the 2022 TSA K9 calendar.
They use too much polish on their floors at McCarran. Poor Alana's doing her best to try to get through there and do her job, and the first part of that video just cracked. Look at that.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
She gets excited. Whoop, fell down.
Look at her. That is I tell you what, that's a tough sight to beat right there.
Oh.
All right, Tanya, we've got what is now Tropical Storm Ida pushing its way over the Louisiana-Mississippi state line. Still have more than 1 million people without power along the Gulf Coast right there. And on top of the torrential rainfall, there is still the storm surge. And now we've got tornado warnings in effect. It is going to be a long and tumultuous Monday into Tuesday until this thing finally breaks up, and it's going to be several days. Made landfall as a Category 4 and not too far off, 16 years to the day, where Hurricane Katrina made landfall. It was just a little bit to the west of Katrina's path, and so we'll constantly update Ida. We've actually picked up a little spotty rain ourselves, far northeastern portion of our highlighted counties in southwest Missouri, and it's a welcome sight. So are the clouds. We've been very, very comfortable outside this morning as we take a live look over 7th and Range Line and sit at 71 degrees and able to do so even with humidity that's been consistently around 95-96%. Just a little easterly breeze according to the arrows, everything from about 69 to 74 is what we've had temperature-wise this morning. Now the continental United States, very, very quiet, minus Ida. I'm not downplaying Ida, but if you were to take that and isolate it on the map, not a whole lot of action. Look how flat that jet stream is. With cooler temperatures once you get right on the opposite side of the Iowa-Missouri state line. But we still got a fair amount of warmth. Still very seasonable for us as well, though. And once again, we're watching this thing move at a pretty good clip. I know 8 miles per hour doesn't sound like much, but the faster we can get this thing up through northern Mississippi and toward Tennessee, the quicker it's going to become a low pressure system. We do, however, going to end up with flooding concerns along the Mississippi River once it gets into Tennessee. Highs today in the 4 states in the high 80s. Average high this time of year to close out August would be 89, so really on par. And here's the nice thing. For this afternoon and evening, we begin to pick up some scattered rainfall. Not looking at anything severe, probably 1/4 to 1/2 an inch by the time we get done with Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesday, we get a little bit up to the north right there. It really doesn't want to fall down too far toward I-44. 7-day forecast with temperatures in the high 80s to close out August. Then, hello, September. We're going to bring back the 90s.
All right, up next, should you be getting a COVID-19 antibody test before getting your booster shot? We find out. Plus, we've got highlights from Sunday's Royals and Cardinals games. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. If you're having a hard time getting your hands on a COVID-19 home test, it's because they're in high demand right now. Abbott Laboratories says its supply of Binex Now at-home COVID-19 tests may be constrained in the coming weeks as demand has grown to unprecedented levels. An Abbott spokesperson says they've scaled up manufacturing since the highly contagious Delta variant became the dominant strain. On Friday, an online search for the self-test found them on CVS.com and Amazon, but the test appeared to be out of stock for online orders via Walgreens and Kroger. Should you be getting a COVID-19 antibody test before getting your booster shot? That's a question on many folks' minds. Brianna Arredondo spoke with several physicians about what antibody tests mean for our health.
COVID-19 antibody testing can help doctors treat patients in hospitals, see immune response in vulnerable people, or show your exposure to the virus. But Tampa General Hospital ER doctor Jason Wilson says it's an evolving science.
By itself, if you just go out and get an antibody test and I give you a number back, I don't think that number means much. The question just becomes, what do you do with that information?
Scientists say antibody testing is not standardized. The numbers can mean different things depending on where you got your test. So it's not recommended for the general public.
So I know that it's we all want to make things as simple as possible and say I have antibodies or I don't, I need a vaccine or I don't. But in this case, it's more nuanced. That's why experts and physicians have to interpret the data and give people the recommendations about what to do.
Right now, it's getting the COVID shot. Studies show antibody levels from vaccines remain strong, but they drop a little over time. That's where booster shots come in. Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer announced this week their doses help.
We know that when you give that third dose, that there's going to be a significant immune response. And it's kind of expected, but nice to see the science.
Doctors say vaccinated people should not worry about their antibody levels while waiting for potential boosters. They say the shots still do what they were made for. On the other side, public health experts say relying on antibodies from the virus won't have as much protection as a shot.
There's difference in magnitude, so you get a lot more antibody from the vaccinations, particularly the mRNA vaccinations. But we don't know, if the duration is the same for the mRNA vaccines versus the natural infection.
Well, a monoclonal antibody treatment that was shelved because it wasn't effective against COVID at the time is now headed back to market. U.S. paused distribution of Eli Lilly's dual monoclonal antibody treatment in June because it was ineffective against the beta and gamma variants. But studies are now showing the drug combination is surprisingly effective against the Delta variant. According to the CDC, the Delta variant accounts for nearly 96% of cases of COVID in the U.S. now. With its return to market, doctors now have 3 different monoclonal antibody treatments to use in the fight against coronavirus. Although the 3 formulations are slightly different, they all can provide a kickstart to the immune system if used early in a COVID infection. The San Diego Zoo is celebrating a new addition to the family. Meet the zoo's newest southern white rhino calf. This adorable female calf was born last Sunday to first-time mom Kianga and dad Jay Gregory. What a name for a rhino. Zoo wildlife specialists say the calf is healthy and nursing well. She's apparently very adventurous and well cared for by her mother and zoo caregivers. The calf is expected to be named at a later date.
They're dangerous. I'm not going to do the negative Nancy, Michael in the wilderness, beware of animals, but I'm telling you, man.
But they're rare and they need to be protected.
Cute as can be, though.
Yeah.
Can't beat that. Hippos scare me, too. Right?
Yeah.
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 All right. Luckily, we don't have to worry about Jumanji. What if Jumanji was real? How about that?
Oh, poor Kevin Hart. Poor Kevin Hart.
It's Monday morning. What can I say? All right, live look over 7th and Rangeline. Absolutely gorgeous with that cloud cover right there. It looks like they're really low, and you can't beat it. 71 degrees, even with the high humidity. It's very, very comfortable. We've got 69 in Iola, 70 in Miami, and 71 in both Carthage and Cassville. Skywatch Storm Tracker. Let's get to the serious stuff. We've got what is now Tropical Storm Ida made landfall just about the same spot Hurricane Katrina did 16 years to the day. Ida has now moved over the Louisiana-Mississippi state line, still 1 million people without power, and on top of the torrential rainfall, the storm surge that lasts all the way from the west coast of Louisiana into the Florida Panhandle. We also now have tornado warnings that will last throughout the course of our Monday. In the 4 states, we'll go temperatures up into the high 80s, and this is kind of a welcome sight as we're actually going to pick up some sporadic rain. Nothing organized nor anything severe. We actually need a little bit of rain, and then Tuesday morning we see it fall down from the north as well. And then we get ready for the heat to return for September, as we're going to have to roll low to mid 90s for the first full week. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. High school softball in Missouri underway, and what better way to start it with a little perfection. McDonald County Mustangs opening up their season at home on Saturday, hosting Quapaw to get it all started. In the first inning, Nevaeh Dodson finds the hole. That's a 2-run single. Here comes Carly Cooper. Here comes Reagan Myrick to score the first 2 runs of the game. Now we've got the bases loaded for Caitlin Townsend. Townsend gets it to fall. 2 more runs come across. Mustangs put up 7 runs in the first inning. All right, this is Pitt State commit Madeline McCall. Get it. Get it! A perfect game for McCall. 6 innings. She strikes out 15 of 18 batters. Cooper ends this one early off the back of the fence for a triple. Mustangs win their season opener in shutout fashion, 10-0 over the Wildcats. Here's the perfectionist.
Honestly, I didn't even realize it was a perfect game until the end. I was just focused on pitching strikes. This was a great game to start off our season because we started off not so great in our jamboree, but this one we came out and we were ready.
Congratulations, Madeline McCall, right there. That's absolutely awesome. Reigning state champs wanted an extra day to begin their football season. So on Saturday, Lamar Tigers kicked off their second season under head coach Jared Beshore. Tigers hosting Springfield at Catholic. In the first quarter, Austin Wilkerson, see ya, breaks a few tackles. He's into the end zone. That's our first points of the Lamar season, 6-0 Tigers. Later, Logan Crockett deep in Lamar's territory. He's going to turn that real fast. Look at Crockett's breakaway speed. See ya. He is gone into the end zone. Lamar up 26-0. As Wilkerson then says, I'll play a little defense as well. Comes up with the INT as the Tigers dominate Springfield Catholic, win their opener 46-0. Talk a little Major League Baseball. This is a great one, too. Crowder College product Aaron Ashby. He got his first career win on Sunday with the Milwaukee Brewers. Ashby pitched 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, and helped the Brew Crew to a 6-2 victory as they continue to lead the National League Central. Now the Royals, they've won 3 in a row against the Mariners, essentially trying to knock Seattle out of the AL wildcard race. So yesterday, Royals going for the series sweep. We'll start in the 6th inning. This guy's been unbelievable. Salvador Perez, 5 consecutive games with a home run. He's going to hit 40 home runs this year. At his age, that is something else. All right, trailing once again, though, Michael Taylor evens it up with a solo shot of his own. But then Kyle Seager, a little home run derby here. Kyle Seager says with 1 run on, I'm just going to put an end to it. It was a really nice series for the Royals. But with Seager's home run, oh, look at the M's rolling out the old 1980s uniforms. I love that look. Seattle wins it 4-3. Cardinals and Pirates wrapping up the series on Sunday. No score in the 3rd until Tyler O'Neill goes off the wall. This will be the first career triple for O'Neill as St. Louis up 1-0. Bottom half, Kevin Newman. He's like, I got extra bases on this bad boy, right? Harrison Bader. Good night, Irene. You've seen him do that several times in the past week alone. Tommy Edman breaks a tie game with a 2-run blast out to right center. And how about Nolan Arenado? Doing what you do, man. I don't understand how that dude's arm does that. Watch this throw. What? That's tremendous. All right, but the Cardinals would give up 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th to the Pirates. Cardinals now find themselves 4 games out of the 2nd spot in the National League wild card. Final score 4-3. All right, Chiefs hosting Cleveland. Season opener coming in 2 weeks. Patrick Mahomes saying the preseason has prepped his team well to have success in week 1 as well as beyond.
Obviously, coming off injury, you want to go out there and make sure everything's good. And I was able to do that. I was able to move around. I was able to do kind of the stuff that I've always been accustomed to doing. And then building that relationship, kind of like I talked about with the offensive line. I mean, in practice, you think you're building it and doing that stuff, but until you really try it out in a game situation where stuff's moving fast, there's crowds, it's loud. It's definitely good to get out there with the offensive line, kind of go through that adversity and have to find ways to kind of battle through.
NFL Top 100 out. This is voted on by the players. Patrick Mahomes secures the #1 spot. Travis Kelce, highest rated tight end. Tyreek Hill comes in 15th. Defensive tackle Chris Jones at number 34 and a Badger on the list at number 58. We'll be back right after this.
Celebrate.
It's time to honor today's 4th-state hero, Sergeant Jerry Talley in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Anderson, Missouri, served in Vietnam in 1967. To Sergeant Jerry Talley, we thank you, our 4th-state hero. First round of winners are announced in Missouri's COVID-19 incentive program, Mo VIP. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with one Joplin winner on how it feels to be one of the lucky few, as well as the state health department on whether the program has helped them raise state vaccination rates.
Back in July, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services partnered with the Missouri Lottery to periodically draw 900 vaccinated Missourians to each win $10,000.
So now we have about 566,000 people that have registered to win the MoVIP.
They've already announced the first 180 winners. Among the 7 local winners was Joplin resident Alex Carnes.
I woke up and I was like, wow, I think I just won $10,000, and looked back in the emails and I was just like, I guess that's what had happened.
Carnes received his first dose of the vaccine on July 26th and didn't know about the lottery at the time.
I was talking to my parents and they told me about the COVID vaccine lottery. I didn't even know it was a thing, and so I got onto the Department of Health and Senior Services website and lo and behold, saw it there, so I entered and I guess I was the lucky one.
Although the state health department can't say for certain that the lottery caused the state's vaccine rates to go up, they think it could have helped some finally roll up their sleeves.
We can't say for certain, if it was the vaccine incentive program that really gave them the nudge they needed. We have heard anecdotally from some individuals that really that was the nudge that they needed to get going and try to win that money.
Now, Carnes, who works in the insurance industry, says he has a plan for when he gets his $10,000.
Save and invest. I was a financial advisor. I'm an insurance agent. And that's kind of what we're taught and learn. It's kind of a crazy thing. Was never expecting it. I'm just going to keep living life as I normally would.
In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
KOAM also reached out to area health departments. The Newton County Health Department plans to host a vaccine lottery of its own. That drawing will take place October 1st, and we'll have more details on our website. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we check out the immediate future and challenges ahead for self-driving car companies. And no more soggy fries. Wendy's says it has developed a French fry designed to last longer. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Security situation in Kabul remains tenuous this morning after the U.S. military intercepted a small barrage of rockets aimed at the airport. Earlier, U.S. forces struck a vehicle it says was packed with multiple suicide bombers, reportedly also killing civilians in the process. With the August 31st deadline for a full U.S. military pullout looming, the focus has shifted to bringing troops back home safely. The remains of 11 of the 13 U.S. Marines killed in last week's suicide bombing are now back in the United States, marking President Biden's first time in office witnessing a dignified transfer. Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz was among those killed in Thursday's bombing incident near the Kabul airport. A moment of silence was held in his honor this weekend at his high school. Russell Kinsel reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the freedom we enjoy as Americans isn't free.
Some may not have known until the announcement was made that 2019 Fort Zumwalt South graduate Jared Schmitz was killed in Afghanistan just a day earlier. The news hit some hard.
It's just so sad.
But when they learned that there would be a moment of silence for Lance Corporal Schmitz, parents and grandparents of students told me they were glad.
I think it's wonderful. We need to honor our troops and give him the credit that he's due for serving his country and dying for his country.
Schmidt's family says their son worked hard to achieve his goal of becoming a Marine. He'd been stationed in Jordan before being sent along with thousands of others to provide security at the airport in Kabul during a massive airlift of Americans and Afghans. Dr. Kevin Keltner is principal at the school. He said students who go on to serve their country in the military reflect well on the school.
We're very proud of those young men and women who decide to make that commitment and wish them nothing but the very best as they head off and do some very, very difficult tasks for us.
Before the Fort Zumwalt South's first game of the season, everything stopped for a moment of silence in honor of a former student.
Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz and the ultimate price he paid in service to our nation.
According to Dr. Keltner, a moment of silence was observed at other Fort Zumwalt School District football games tonight.
It's the very least we can do to recognize the service of our men and women who protect the freedoms we enjoy, and in Jared's situation, to honor him for making that ultimate sacrifice this evening.
We are incredibly grateful for Jared's service to our nation. Please keep the Smith family in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time.
One day after Thursday's fatal bombing in Afghanistan, the U.S. Central Command says the military conducted a successful airstrike on an ISIS-K planner. The military says the unmanned strike appears to have killed the planner in the Nangarhar province of Afghanistan. Jomo Pridefest returns to Joplin for another fun-filled celebration of the local LGBTQ+ community. The event featured a ton of activities and attractions, including vendors, a pride march, drag shows, magic and comedy shows, a costume contest, and more. Well, this weekend's hot late summer weather didn't stop the hundreds of four-staters from coming out for 2 days packed full of pride-themed activities. Well, fall is just around the corner, but this weekend the city of Pittsburgh celebrated the season a bit early. The barn at Timber Cove hosted a 2021 Fall Festival in Pittsburgh on Saturday. Admission was free for everyone, and the theme was shopping local. Festival provides the opportunity for four-state businesses to show various crafts and foods to the Pittsburgh community. With the ongoing pandemic making things a bit tougher, some vendors look to the festival to attract new customers.
A lot of these vendors were extremely affected by everything that's been going on pretty much the past 2 years. So they had a lot of shows be canceled. There's a lot of people who have customers come back every time we have events out here. A lot of my vendors have been with me from the beginning, and I do get new vendors every show. So it's great for building their clientele and be able to see some of our community members come out and support other people.
Goodies and snacks were provided to attendees, and several food trucks were in attendance as well, including Ghetto Tacos and Blue Spoon. Organizers say there'll be a holiday-themed festival coming up in December.
Almost the end of meteorological summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, September 1, meteorological fall begins. All right, let's take a live look over 7th and Rangeline. The low-hanging clouds providing just a beautiful, beautiful shot this morning. Traffic beginning to pick up a little bit. Temperatures, they have not picked up. It's been very, very comfortable. 71 degrees is where we stand. Look at that humidity. My goodness. 96%, anywhere from 69 to about 72 right now. You can see 74 there in Chanute, 70 in Miami, and let's roll 71 in Carthage. Of course, we know what the big one is down to the south. Let's go look at what is now Tropical Storm Ida. Made its way across the Louisiana and Mississippi state line, and even though we've seen the torrential rains back off along the Gulf Coast of Louisiana, we still have more than 1 million people that are currently without power right now. And on top of the torrential rainfall, we also have the storm surge that is stretching from the west coast of Louisiana all the way to the Florida Panhandle is where it's being put back on land, and tornado warnings on top of that throughout the course of Monday for not only Mississippi, but the activity will push into Tennessee right along the river as well. Our temperatures are going to be up into the high 80s to close out the month of August, and we actually have the chance for a little rainfall, and we need it, not only the grass, but the crops as well. It's not organized and it's not long lasting, and later on we see a little bit that drops in from the north as well for Tuesday morning, and then we prepare for the heat to reemerge, because as we open up September, we are right back into the mid-90s. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 and our morning Something to Talk About.
My name is Amanda, and I smoked while
Road to the future, evidently a long and winding one, and we made that the subject of this morning's Facebook page and our Insta poll. It's the KOAM Morning News Something to Talk About. Self-driving car companies trying to put the pedal to the metal and get their driverless cars to go mainstream. But as Jill Nato shows us, they've got some challenges to face, and when autonomous automobiles may be coming to a city near you.
Imagine all the things you could get done in the car if you didn't have to worry about driving it. That's the message a number of self-driving car companies are trying to get across to potential customers.
We want to allow our riders to turn off and take their time back and sit back, relax.
Google's parent company, Alphabet Inc., and a growing number of driverless rideshare startups are trying to accelerate the pace self-driving cars can dominate the roadways. But experts say it's easier said than done.
The three biggest challenges for the autonomous driving is the technical, it's the regulation, and it's the consumer acceptance.
Although self-driving technology exists, many companies are still refining it, forcing a majority to keep a human driver in the front seat as an extra safety precaution, defeating the purpose of having a fully driverless car. But these obstacles aren't causing companies to slam on the brakes. Alphabet Inc. is currently testing its Waymo car service in San Francisco, California, after letting customers last year book cars in small pockets of Phoenix, Arizona. And officials over at startup Pony AI hope to remove their safety driver next year. Experts say the feedback they're getting during these tests is critical in helping to increase the comfort, safety, and convenience factors for customers. And while self-driving cars are the way of the future, officials say it's just taking a little longer for the future to be fully realized. Jill Nato, Fox News.
So our question to you is, could you ever see yourself in a self-driving or autonomous vehicle? And we talked about trust issues, perhaps. Yeah, it takes one to know one. I'm allowed to say that. 86% of you say, no, I'm not going to do it. You want control of the wheel, and I completely understand. You can take part each and every morning, and I appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning as well. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or you can connect to us via our Facebook page. We'll be back with Consumer Watch next.
In Consumer Watch this morning, if you've gone to the grocery store and noticed empty shelves or have had trouble finding your favorite foods, you're not alone. We're still dealing with a global supply chain issue that started with the pandemic and is being felt across the U.S. Bailey Miller explores why the shortages are still happening.
We're in a really weird time.
Dale Rogers is a professor of logistics and supply chain management at ASU, and he's been following the supply chain shortage happening globally.
We're seeing an incredible amount of sort of bad things happen at the same time. This is really unusual.
It's the reason why your favorite items are missing from your grocery shelves, and containers like cups and takeout boxes are no longer available at certain coffee shops and restaurants. Even clothing and shoes are impacted too.
Coming from China, and that stuff is sitting out on the water.
The reason it's sitting there is because it's now more expensive to transport items from China because the cost of shipping containers has skyrocketed.
The spot market rate is around $20,000 a container. You go back a year and it was probably $2,500 a container.
And COVID playing a role too, as certain ports overseas are closed due to exposures and outbreaks. Local grocery stores like Basha's seeing the impacts, releasing a statement to us saying supply chain challenges persist across the country and we are still battling those effects in Arizona, adding that many food producers are still operating with limited capacities, resulting in consumers seeing that directly available in assortments.
Americans are losing confidence in the economy as COVID cases skyrocket. A new survey published by Gallup finds 60% of respondents feel the economy is getting worse, while 37% think things are getting better. This figure is up from 54% of people who felt negatively about the way the economy was moving last month. Popular fitness company is subpoenaed by the feds in relation to some of its fitness equipment. Peloton has been ordered by the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security to supply documents concerning injuries associated with its Tread Plus treadmill. Securities and Exchange Commission is also investigating Peloton's public disclosures of injuries associated with its products. Peloton issued a voluntary recall of its Tread and Tread Plus treadmill products in May after the Consumer Product Safety Commission issued an urgent warning after a child was killed, multiple small children and a pet were injured beneath the machines. Southwest plans to slash some flights from the schedule this fall to help prepare for a busy holiday season. Airline says it will cut about 27 flights a day in September, more than 160 a day come October. Southwest says the cuts will allow it to catch up on staffing and operations stressed from this summer's travel uptick. Wendy's says it has a solution for soggy fries. The chain has created a French fry designed specifically to stay crispy. The hot and crispy fries launched this fall. They'll be cut and coated with batter that Wendy's says will hold the fries up for about 30 minutes after customers order. Good deal. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
A Hollywood legend and Kansas City native, Ed Asner, passed away. Asner's career spanned more than 6 decades. Best known for playing the cantankerous television news director Lou Grant on the old Mary Tyler Moore Show. Now that character spun off into its own series called Lou Grant. That was a drama, with the character becoming a Los Angeles-based newspaper editor. Later roles included playing Santa Claus in the movie Elf, the starring voice in the Pixar movie Up, and the voice of Boondocks villain, Ed Wunkler. Asner also served 2 terms as president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1981 to 1985. Ed Asner was 91 years old. Marvel's latest film set to get a boost with the help of a nonprofit, and the Rolling Stones back on stage despite a recent loss. Anthony Pura with those stories and more. He has today's Eye on Entertainment.
Fasten your gi. Tie your belt.
Netflix subscribers can look forward to more punches and kicks. The streaming service has renewed Cobra Kai for a 5th season. The move comes months ahead of the show's season 4 release. The series is based off the 1980s Karate Kid franchise, taking place more than 30 years after the end of the original film. The show received 4 Emmy nominations for its 3rd season.
I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is getting the support of Asian American Pacific Islander nonprofits Gold House and CAPE. The new Marvel movie premieres in theaters Friday, and the organizations have teamed up with GoFundMe to launch a fundraising portal to sponsor private screenings of the film for the API community and other underserved young people. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is Marvel's first movie that stars a largely Asian cast. And the Rolling Stones will move forward as planned with their No Filter tour despite the death of drummer Charlie Watts last week. Before his death, Watts had said he wasn't going on tour with the band and drummer Steve Jordan was set to step in. The Rolling Stones kick off the No Filter tour in St. Louis, Missouri, September 26th. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
We picked up a little rain in the northeastern portion of southwest Missouri. Certainly wasn't widespread and trace amounts, but hey, it's a start, right? And we've got a little cloud cover helping us out. There's a live look over 7th and Rangeline. Low-hanging clouds providing just a gorgeous Monday morning with temperatures pretty moderate. 71 degrees is where we stand right now, and thank goodness we are in the low 70s because that humidity already at 96%. Chanute's at 74, and Miami at 72, and Carthage right now at 71. Of course, we know what the big talker is. 16 years to the day of Hurricane Katrina. Ida made landfall over the weekend. As it's crossed over the Louisiana-Mississippi state line, now sits as a tropical storm. So not only the torrential rain, but also a storm surge sweeping the coast in as far as the Florida Panhandle, eventually moving its way toward Tennessee as a low pressure system, but still, as of right now, it is tropical storm force. Back to the 4 states where our highs will be in the high 80s with a little easterly breeze. It will feel about like 94, 95 later on this afternoon. However, we avoid the heat advisories that we had last week as we push into the nighttime hours. Pretty mild right there. Can't beat that to wrap up August. And look at this. We'll pick up a little rain this afternoon and evening. Kind of much needed as we are down quite a bit since June 1 and since January 1 as well. And future track with Tuesday morning rain that comes in from the north. As far as Ida goes, bottom of your screen, it's hard to miss. And as it progresses up through Tennessee, you can tell it almost rides the Mississippi River, so that will be extra flooding concerns. As the river, of course, runs right back down through New Orleans. We'll finish up August in the high 80s, then get ready for a whole bunch of 90s to begin September. And we'll come back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Now here's a good story to wrap the show on. The Sakanga Zoo, located near Mexico City, welcomed 3 endangered lion cubs to their new home. 2 females and 1 male cub were born at the zoo on August 13th. The birth of a lion cub hadn't been recorded at that zoo in nearly 5 years. These newborn cubs and their parents, Barbara and Popeye, are currently in good condition as zookeepers keep a close eye on their health.
We have rhinos, lions. We had that dog at McCarran Airport.
Yeah, it's an Animal Monday.
You produced it.
I like animals. What can I say? I love little zoo animals.
No, I have to admit, like, all the animal video we did have was absolutely awesome. It was pretty cute. All right, like I said, scattered rain for today. We're actually in need of it. And then get ready for a hot September as the 90s are coming back. We'll be back with more news and weather update. Tropical Storm Ida when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.